We have sound. That just kind of gives you a flavor for what this exhibit's all about. Again, the hope or expectation is to raise awareness about this growing problem in Riverside County. What we're looking at is bringing this project to Riverside County in September and having it here through the months of September, October, and into November. So we can hit the Coachella Valley in November when it's not too hot. It'll be in each region for approximately 2 to 3 weeks. It'll be open during the day and on weekends, and what we anticipate is having volunteers staff it throughout the day and in the evenings to accommodate visitors who can walk through this and obtain literature for free. What we plan on is each opening weekend of having kind of a, I hate to say a fair, but having all different types of county agencies have booths or desks outside of the trailer with pamphlets and brochures and information about what kind of services they provide to families and victims in these types of situations. The bottom line is, to do this, this project is going to cost about $100,000. And I know that in these tough economic times, that's a lot of money, and it's difficult to come up with that money. And that's why I had a meeting with many different nonprofits and county agencies in my office a few weeks ago to talk about this project and to raise funds to bring it to Riverside County. And so far we've gotten a tremendous response. One of the big supporters of this program and project throughout the state of California is the First Five. And we've reached out to them and we're asking them to be a big donor and help us bring this project to Riverside County. We're also reaching out to several other nonprofits throughout the county as well, and getting a lot of interest and support in that regard also. But that's why I'm here this morning, is to ask the board if they can find a way to assist us in bringing this project to Riverside County and making this a reality. And unless you have any questions.
Thanks. Before we go to questions, just a comment from Supervisor Buster. Looking at our presentations today, and then concluding with your presentation, we ought to call this Heroes Day, because while we're talking about very, very sad and difficult situations, whether it be child abuse, sexual abuse, we couldn't address any of those issues without, number one, the volunteers that help day in and day out with the various agencies, without our public safety professionals and counselors that deal with the sexual abuse, child abuse, or dispatchers. If you've ever watched or heard a dispatcher handle some very difficult calls, very stressful job, and then our DA and all of our public safety professionals that go beyond that and help try the cases. I just want to thank you on behalf of the entire board. These are tough times. They're tougher. I'm sure these calls have increased with the difficult economic times.
Well, that's another stressor that creates more of these types of problems or situations, unfortunately.
So thank you all to everyone that works in these agencies and to address these very difficult situations. Supervisor Buster.
Yeah, Mr. District Attorney, I have item 3.54 on our agenda to get the ball rolling with funding, allocate $10,000 with the board's consent toward this. We're very happy to do that. And your appearance here today is not just routine, it's really riveting. And it really speaks to the fact that through your long experience and other law enforcement law experience, it's really too late to prosecute and force. The damage has been done, permanent damage, and it's not sufficient to act as a deterrent to this kind of dynamic happening in other families. And the little bookmarker here kind of says some secrets should be told, and that's what you're dealing with here. You're trying to get some influence, some light into the most private part of a family's life, and how difficult that is to try to correct that. So it really goes to building trust and providing accurate information to either one parent or another, or to their closest relatives, or to their friends, or their neighbors, to build a strong, much stronger and more permanent peer system throughout the county to intercept this before it gets out of control and try to stop it. So your presence here today is extremely important. We hope that this will just be a start toward penetrating what is a very difficult issue to solve.
Well, it's a very private issue, and unfortunately, when law enforcement or my office gets involved, it's almost too late at that point in time. Someone's been hurt or injured or even killed. And the idea behind the LISA project is to raise awareness and stop those types of events or incidents from even occurring in the first place. And you mentioned the bookmark, Supervisor Buster, on the back of the bookmark. Again, this is another way to raise funds. What we do is we place the sponsors, people that provide money, and we put them on the back of the bookmark to recognize their efforts and contributions as well. So that's another way to assist us in bringing this project to this county.
Any further questions for our district attorney?
If we can jump through the agenda, I'll move approval of item 3.4.
Absolutely, I'll second your motion, and second district will do our best to follow suit with Supervisor Buster. Please vote on item 3.54.
5-4.
Motion is unanimous. Thank you. Well,
Thank you for your time this morning.
appreciate it. All right. And thank you again to everyone for your service who received the awards today. We are now going to go to comments. Oh, sorry. We will start. If everyone would please stand for the invocation by Mr. Shoemake, followed by
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. Please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we pause at this moment to give you praise, honor, and glory, to ask for your forgiveness as we forgive others. Thanks for keeping us all in good times and through the bad times. Thanks for today and all that is within it. Allow your Holy Spirit to move upon this board and lead them in the decision-making of today's business. Give them the foresight and ability to lead this county in future years of prosperity. Protect our Air Force, Navy, Army, and Marines, for truly the price of freedom is not free. Show us grace and mercy as we show others the same. In the name that's above all names we pray. Amen.
Please join us in the pledge for our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Now, to opening comments by the members of the board. Supervisor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to highlight a couple of truly wonderful events that occurred in the 4th District over the last couple of weeks. First was the 20th annual Senior Inspiration Award luncheon held at the Desert Springs JW Marriott. This event has been around since Courtney Larson, Roy Wilson, and now I sponsor it. First 16 years, Gene Benson chaired it. Many-time mayor and council member in Palm Desert, Larry Spicer from Indian Wells, is currently our chairman of the committee. 530 people attended. We sold this thing out weeks in advance. 12 seniors, all over 70 years of age throughout the Coachella Valley, were recognized for their volunteerism. 3 of the recipients were 90 years old or older. Each Coachella city nominates 1 deserving citizen. Riverside County nominates 2. This year we had Les Thoreau, 90 years old, from the city of Palm Desert, who was regular volunteer at the Eisenhower Medical Center since 1995. And Ophelia Salas, 84, from Thermal, a regular at the Thermal Senior Center since 1998. A wonderful event. We thank all of our volunteers in the Coachella Valley for their participation all year round, and then also joining us so we can honor them at this beautiful event. And secondly, just a quick reminder or mention of the fact that we had a kind of an open house for the soon-to-come Thermal Club. This is a project approved by the board last year. It's getting underway soon, where we will have a unique world-class motorsports event and venue made up of a couple hundred private garage lots around a 4.5-mile racetrack. This is located in the community of Thermal, about 30 miles southeast of Palm Springs and just south of the Jackie Cochran Regional Airport. It was great to see the potential residents, well, not residents, these are not facilities you can live in. They are garages, they are clubhouses where you can enjoy the race, but most of these folks will be staying other places in the valley in the evenings and boosting our economy there. This is projected to be a $90 million investment to our county, so it's great to see that kind of project going forward in times like these. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Benoit. Supervisor Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a public safety summit up in Idlewild last night, and this was in response to an armed robbery that happened up in Idlewild. These types of violent crimes are typically not seen up there, which was quite a shock to the Hill. And I would like to thank members of our staff that were up there to reassure members of the Idlewild community that we're addressing these issues up there. And our Chief Probation Officer, Alan Krogan, was there. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate your attendance there. Glenn Bond from our County Code Enforcement was up there. Appreciate him being there. Our Fire Chief Hawkins, thank you, Fire Chief, for being up there. Captain of the Sheriff's Department from our Hemmett Station was up there to give some reassuring words that we're doing the best that we can with the limited resources that we have within the Sheriff's Department. The captain of the CHP for that area was up there and addressed a number of issues with regard to traffic injuries, speeding, driving under the influence. The Idlewild Fire Chief, the interim chief, was up there, and AMR was up there, as it is the Idlewild Fire Department that has been contracted to provide ambulance services to the Pine Cove area. They've chosen not to renew that contract, so we have been working with our staff to have a contingency plan in the event that does happen, and we reassure the residents of an Idlewild that there will be a seamless transition from Idlewild providing ambulances to AMR, our county provider at this time. Also last week in Los Angeles, in my duties representing the board on SCAG, we did pass our regional transportation plan, which is an important milestone that is laying the foundation for infrastructure and meeting the state's goals to EB 32 and SB 375. It is a great plan that is going to position us now to get significant federal funding for many of the road projects and infrastructure projects that we need, including grade separations. So this is an important document that is going to have significant utility to our county. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Stone. Supervisor Ashley.
Since our last meeting, we have celebrated Vietnam Veterans Day out at the March Museum and also at the March Cemetery. And we have a visiting Vietnam wall out at the museum. All of you supported that, and it was very much appreciated by the veterans. They had a nice ceremony out at the cemetery. Supervisor Buster spoke out there, and I heard some nice comments about that. And we had Senator Senator Paul Cook, who's a retired colonel in the Vietnam War hero, and one that sponsored the legislation. I think you might have a chance to vote for it, Supervisor Dwayne. And it was a good day, and the veterans really appreciated the event. Is growing. Every year it gets a little bigger. And it was very well received by the veterans. You can see meeting up for the first time. You see the healing process start to set in. There were several there that had been basically the first time that they come out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Supervisor Ashley, thank you for your leadership out there. That was quite a wonderful day. And hearing the heroes that participated, the pilot from the U.S. Air Force pilot that did the transports over Vietnam, and also
He was
Colonel Cook.
He was unbelievable. We had two that were fantastic.
Very, very, very great. Supervisor Buster.
Last Thursday night, we had what I thought was a very constructive and informative town hall meeting in the Woodcrest area of Greater Riverside, and our Assessor Larry Ward was there, our Fire Chief John Hawkins, representative from Sheriff Smith's office, the California Highway Patrol, the Transportation Director, our Parks Director, our Code Enforcement Director, who regaled the crowd with something to chew on, handing out taffy to try to dispel the seventh inning stretch in hard seats. We didn't have enough money this year to furnish them with seat cushions, but nonetheless, the whole crowd stayed there for the entire time. And one of the most interesting things that occurred was really, really hopeful, and that came from our animal control. One of our chief directors there, Betsy Webster, was there, and either Betsy's here this morning, and I see her and the director, Rob Miller, over there. And maybe you could come up and tell us about your stunning success at adoptions, but some of your ongoing challenges as well.
Good morning, members of the board. Rob Miller, Director of Animal Services. So it was 409, that's the number. 2 shelters, Riverside and Thousand Palms, 9 hours, thousands of people, and the staff and the volunteers of the department processed 409 adoptions. We believe this is a Guinness World Record. Truly. And we are investigating to see whether or not we can be granted or bestowed that honor. The highest adoption within a 24-hour period at a single shelter was Mississippi Humane, and I believe it was 256, 265, somewhere around there. And they were recently trying to break this goal and set a new world record of 300, and they did not reach that. If we just looked at our Riverside shelter, we adopted out over 330 animals just out of Riverside. And Thousand Palms, to do over 70 animals, that's incredible for the size facility that it has. We literally had no dogs available for adoption. Now, I think what Betsy shared at the Woodcrest meeting was our current population of animals, which is probably 500-600 animals just in Riverside alone today. And I think that sort of highlights the point that one event doesn't mean that the work's done. But this highlights that we can do single events and be extremely successful in placing animals in homes. And this I have to give credit to the ASPCA, who were awarded a $10,000 grant that made this event possible. Most of my managers will tell you that I spent that grant 5 times over, but I think the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day.
It also shows, too, that we can't adopt our way out of this overpopulation crisis. You need the education, you need ongoing aggressive spay and neuter programs and so forth. So how many nice dogs and cats do you have back in the shelter today?
Probably 500 or 600.
Good job, Robert, as always.
That's a great job, considering your budget has been cut and your personnel staff has been cut back quite a bit.
Well, you saw our volunteer up here today. She's one of about 700 volunteers that help make our work possible. So without the likes of Laura and others, it would be nearly impossible.
Great. Thank you very much, the entire team. All right, there are no further comments. I'd just like to make one congratulations to Supervisor Ashley. This is a day of celebration for his wife, Mary, who had a successful knee surgery yesterday, so that's good to hear. She pulled through that. All right, we are now going to any corrections, deletions, or additions to our agenda. Clerk.
Morning Supervisors, we have additions, items 3.52 through 3.55. Deletion of item 2.2. Corrections are to continue item 3.51 to April 17, 2012. Thank you.
Move those changes.
Okay, motion and a second, please vote. Motion is unanimous. All right, so before we go into our admin, we will go into our admin action calendar 1-1 through, actually, let me move approval to admin action 1-1.
Second.
Please vote. Motion is unanimous. Now we have a speaker on item 2.8. Ms. Ludwig.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Ludwig, and as you know, I have been bringing awareness regarding senior abuse and harmful material in our libraries. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because on this item, I would like to really state, Mr. Stone, I hope you're still looking into the pedophile information. I'm doing a research on that as to where they live. I have it on good authority so far, but I still want to confirm a few things. That there's way too many of them that are living extremely close to daycare centers in elementary schools and middle schools. And this is just for the city of Eureka Valley. I haven't gone beyond that. The other thing that really concerns me is that I was just listening to the Lisa Project. It said, what would you do? Well, I'm doing what I feel I need to do as a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And I do care about the children, especially when they grow up in low-income environments. And one of the things that I brought to your attention quite some time ago was regarding a daycare center that's on Mission and Riverview that I hope to God does not open up until you make a thorough check on those electrical stations. There's 2 of them there that are extremely close to this daycare center. These are their development years, and it really does concern me. And I hope that you look into the matter before you open up that daycare center, please. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move approval of item 2.1 through 2.10.
Second.
Motion and a second, please vote. The motion is unanimous. Taking this into our policy calendar, we do have speakers on 3 items. First, but I'll move the balance unless there are any items to be pulled by the members of the board. We have item 3.3 pulled, item 3.49, and item 3.55, and I'd like to just pull item 3.7 for just some comments. Any Supervisor Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pull 3.10. And I need to abstain on 3.33. I really like my promising maybe business with this clinic. And pull 3.45, please.
Okay. Any
for comment. Did we have a speaker on 3.3, did you say?
Speaker on 3.3, correct.
Okay, also 3.5, if I could.
3.55, we also have a speaker on that. Okay, so those two. All right, I'll move the balance of the calendar.
Second.
Please. And motion is unanimous. That takes us to item 3.3, and our speaker is Paul Jacobs. Paul?
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Supervisors, staff, and members of the public. My name is Paul Jacobs. I'm a resident of Temecula. And this was not the parking issue I was hoping to see on the agenda today, but I am supportive of waiving parking fees in the interest of encouraging public participation. Trading in gas lawnmowers for battery-powered mowers serves to reduce air and noise pollution. This program is a great example of cooperation between governmental agencies and the public, demonstrating how the community benefits from such relationships by removing economic barriers. This is why I believe no citizen should have to pay parking fees to attend county meetings, but it seems especially egregious to charge disabled citizens and veterans for doing their civic duty. It may be legal for the county to charge citizens parking fees for public meetings, but morally, it just doesn't seem right. I appreciate previous comments from this board that were supportive of immediate action to reverse the policy of charging disabled drivers for use of the handicap parking stalls in the garage. Unfortunately, I learned today that the county still charges disabled drivers that are using the parking garage. The county should be as generous to a person in a wheelchair as they are to citizens with lawnmowers. Please don't let the grass grow under your feet in addressing county parking and disability access policy on an agenda in the near future. And I thank you again for your consideration on this matter.
Thanks, Paul. And you know that we are reviewing that policy, and I'm sure we'll get it expedited.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, it's on next week. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, Supervisor Benoit.
Thank you for your comments, Paul. We have a couple of photos to show, if we could, on the. This is an item that I brought as the Riverside County representative on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Board. This is a picture of the one of these types of events. We're going to offer the Riverside County Fairgrounds and a small portion of it, the parking lot for this. Every year for the last several years, the AQMD has allowed people to sign up in advance, bring in their old gas lawnmower and trade it in for a significant discount on several different models from several different manufacturers of electric lawnmowers, which, by the way, I've had a chance at these events to try, and they are quite advanced. The technology has changed dramatically, and believe it or not, this is a source of a significant amount of air quality issues in our valley. The low-hanging fruit of 20 years ago has been pretty well plucked, and now we get to trying to eliminate even items as small as this. So just so be aware that the county is going to participate, and I appreciate the fact that it is a cooperative effort between the AQMD and Riverside County with this item. We'll be able to allow them to use a fairground parking lot. And I move approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Benoit. We do have a second, but we also have another speaker, Robert Maybe, at 3.3.
Morning, Robert Maybe speaking. I think on this agenda 3.3, I think all of you ought to feel a little ashamed. I think especially Mr. Benoit. Speaking for myself, I parked about a block away from here. I had a hip replaced, a knee replaced, and the hip needs it again. But I don't mind walking that far to have my time in front of this board. But I do think all of you ought to feel ashamed. And for the rest of my 3 minutes, I'd like to have everybody bow their head and see if you can say some kind of a prayer for Mr. Benoit that he'll straighten himself up and behave like a truly honest supervisor. Well, everybody please bow your head for the rest of my.
Thank you, Mr. Maybe.
I'm entitled to my 3 minutes.
You're entitled to stick with the issue.
All right, I'll stay with it then.
Okay.
I think each one and every one of you ought to feel ashamed. And what are you going to do? You put that off. You're going to vote on this. How about putting the parking for the
Thank you, Mr. Maybe. Deputies, please. You got to stick with the subject, Mr. Maybe. That's plain and simple. All right, we have a motion and a second on item 3.3. Please vote. Motion is unanimous. Taking us now to item 3.7. I'm first going to ask for, we have a couple of speakers. I'm first going to ask for a quick report by Jay Horner, our Deputy Executive Officer, and then ask for Dr. Holtz from UCR to step up and give us an overview of the update and how this is going to be critical to the overall success of the medical school at UCR. So Jay?
Thank you. Excuse me, as you know, the board originally approved $5 million last year, $5 million this year for the UCR medical school funding. We've had extensive conversations with the dean about the future funding and stream of payments to the school. And it's their request that we do not give the second $5 million, but we create a stream of payments to the school in $1.5 million per year for the next 10 years. It is more money, but there is a revenue source or stream there to make the payment. And so we're confident that can take place over the next 10 years. It's through the Moreno Valley Pass-Through Redevelopment Funds. And staff has indicated that that money is secure and in place. The new agreement, though, allows us to review the payments and the progress of the medical school so that we could cancel our agreement with the adequate notice, continue with the agreement, ask for reviews. And so for the next little over 3 years, we're not going to be giving any more money than we've already committed to. But the board can commit to a greater amount over the next 10 years. This medical school is going to be a great economic boost for Riverside County. It's going to create thousands of jobs. It is going to create an entire change in medical care delivery to our community, which the dean will address. It will also enhance our hospital and relationship with the medical school. So there is a lot of benefit that the county will receive from this agreement.
Thank you, Chief. Dr. Rolls. And while Dr. Rolls is walking up, I'll introduce him. He's the Vice Chancellor of Health Affairs and the Dean of UCR Medical School. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Well, and thank you for the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors. You know, I think we're always particularly grateful for those that have the first dollar in on the project and those that put you over the top when you really need it. And so I want to thank you first for being real heroes for the School of Medicine at UCR. Most of you will recall that I came here 2 years ago, and at that time we asked for $10 million support to get the med school open. Our assumption was that ongoing support would come from the state. As you know, the state has become a somewhat unreliable partner in this endeavor. If we were to open the med school on ongoing state support, the soonest I could get the med school open is 2015, and that would require a positive vote this fall in a revenue referendum, which is highly speculative. If that failed, I have no idea when we could open the School of Medicine on new state support. We started last year, therefore, to try to develop enough money to open the med school at a minimum class size of 50 students in a class, to get the doors open. We felt through the National Licensing Board that would take $10 million a year for 10 years, ongoing support. Since the time of your original commitment, which by the way was the first dollar in on that effort, I've raised $8 million a year for 10 years. That's $80 million, and I'm now, that with your $10 million, that puts us at $90 million. This request, I think, will be easier financially since it has a less of an immediate impact on the county's budget, but has the benefit of a long-term impact that actually puts us over that $10 million a year for 10-year threshold. And so we actually plan to submit, depending on the results of the vote today, our application to open in 2013 tomorrow. So that's why the timing of this particular request. I think in addition to the financial impact, I think I've made that statement on many occasions. I also want to point out that, for example, moving forward, if we, next year, we'll probably hire between 10 and 15 new primary care physicians to form the teaching base of our school. And we'll do that, by the way, every year for the next 10 years. That means that between 20 and 30,000 citizens of Riverside County will also have primary care physicians that they don't have today. So in addition to the major financial impact, this has a major impact on the access of citizens of this county on primary care. And I should point out that primary care is the only kind of doctors you can add in your community to decrease your costs and increase the quality of health care. I want to thank you all, no matter what the outcome of this vote, for your ongoing support. First dollar in, you were the last dollar that put us over the top for moving forward accreditation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Earl. It's a great pleasure for us to do this. Supervisor Benoit, followed by Supervisor Busser. May have some questions, so we can sit down.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Olds, and I've heard your presentation. It's very impressive, but I still run into people in the community that ask me, how does this benefit us economically? And some of the material I've read recently is somewhat startling. I represent Mecca. I believe it's 6,000 or 7,000 to 1 doctors ratio. I think Desert Hot Springs is 8,000, 9,000 residents per doctor. These are numbers that would be an embarrassment anywhere in the world. But even as tough as that is, and recognizing that the doctor who goes to school here, does his residency, is much more likely to stay here once that's happened. How does that relate to an economic boost in the community there? Because I read a figure with $1.5 million a year because a doctor comes to town. Could you explain it?
Every physician, but particularly primary care physicians, I'm going to stick with that, although there will be other types of physicians. Interestingly, Riverside County has a shortage of every type of physician, except for plastic surgeons and dermatologists, and we haven't had those. For every primary care doctor, they become, depending on your statistics, either a $1 million or a $1.5 million small business. Because in addition to the physician charges, they also do testing there, et cetera. It is basically a small business. And each primary care doctor, depending on whose statistics you look at, either leverages an additional 16 or an additional 20 employees in the area. So basically, it's a small business. Probably more important economically is that for every dollar charged in that primary care business, there is downstream revenue related to hospitalizations, pharmacy, x-ray, subspecialty referrals, et cetera. And that number varies, but it's between $20 and $30 to $1, if you will, leveraging money. And that's because generally patients have their x-rays, laboratory tests, go to subspecialists based on the referral of their primary care doctor. So the primary care doctor in and of themselves is a small business, but that primary care doctor also leverages funds downstream. Now this is not new money. That's another important issue people have to understand economically. Today, 40% of the healthcare dollars in inland Southern California gets in cars and drives to the coast to have their elective knee surgery, have their heart surgery, have their prostate surgery, have chemotherapy. And as a result, basically those dollars are lost to our community. Those downstream dollars are lost to our community. If we had an adequate number of physicians in Riverside County and that the quality of the healthcare that we deliver is equal to that of the coast, we would retain those dollars in our economic environment. And that's why the med school and basically the physicians associated with it have such a large leveraging value on the community. I would also point out that although ultimately the long-term impact is the doctors we train that stay and practice here, it's important to point out that the process itself has an immediate impact on that physician manpower. Because we have a shortage of primary care doctors, we clearly have a shortage of primary care doctors to teach our students. So our very first task is to actually hire new primary care doctors who will serve not only as our teaching platform, but actually take care of patients in this county of Riverside. So that 10 to 15 new doctors are not our students. Those are our faculty. So our first activity is to actually hire new teaching and practicing faculty and locate them in areas of Riverside County, not only of greatest need, but of also service us best as teaching facilities. That impact is virtually immediate in that as soon as you hire physicians, you start creating access to patients, and they themselves are in development small business of about $1 million to $1.5 million each.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Buster.
I just want to emphasize the point, too, that we are not alone in Riverside County. Yesterday, Dean Olds and I met with Chairman Josie Gonzalez of the San Bernardino Board of Supervisors, and she was very receptive and said that she wanted to include this in their current goal-setting process for the county. So we will be, there's great potential there for the entire inland region to benefit from the synergy created by the new medical school.
Supervisor Ashley. Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor Stone, then Supervisor Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Olds, thanks for your leadership in trying to get the medical school going. I don't think there's any question about the significant economic impact that it's going to have on the entire county. Not to mention the underserved communities that we need to get that patient-doctor ratio better than it certainly has been. My only concern is, and I'm very supportive of helping the medical school get on their feet, but we have witnessed the egregious disregard of the state legislature for local government, and now, again, not keeping their commitment to getting this medical school open. And while we struggle today with trying to help our 4 cities that we're supposed to receive vehicle license fees that have the carpet pulled out from underneath them, we struggle with, should we be helping them at the expense of services in the unincorporated area and letting the state off the hook, where they may not come in to do the appropriate rescue that they should? Are we going to be contributing to your lack of cooperation, if you will, the state saying, hey, listen, if Riverside County is willing to step up and spend millions of dollars that we could better use elsewhere in the state? That is my concern.
I think that's a concern. I think that's a concern that we have. Obviously, let me restate, we need to get the doors of the medical school open. This amount of money will not build the medical school we ultimately want. We ultimately have to have state support. And I'll point out that it's only fair. The 5 existing state medical schools in the state of California at minimum receive over $50 million a year in annual state support, and they themselves operate highly profitable academic medical centers. Inland Southern California deserves some percentage of that state support because our need is considerably greater than the need of those coastal areas. I understand that's a concern, but let me also point out this is just getting the door open. If I don't create an accredited medical school here, I do not have access to federal funds. I cannot apply as an Hispanic serving institution, one of only 4 with a medical school, by the way, until I become an accredited medical school. Also, I'll point out that our critical shortage really doesn't allow me to wait until 2015 or 2016. We today have a 3,000 physician shortage in inland Southern California. Because we're the fastest growing area of the state, and 40% of the physicians in this county look like me. They're 55 years of age or older. They will not be practicing in 10 to 15 years. We'll have a 5,000 physician deficit in 2020, no matter what anybody does. I just do not believe that we can let this problem go unaddressed now in the hopes that that will stimulate the state government, which has not shown a particular predilection to help in Southern California to get there. I share that concern, but I'm going to need your support politically to make sure that that doesn't happen, despite the fact that we have to get the med school open in 2013.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rose. Supervisor Ashley.
I too want to offer my strong support for what we're doing here today. And I think it's right, you can't wait. You have to get going. And this state isn't, and this county isn't always going to be down. We're coming back. The state will come back. And we have to be poised and ready to take advantage of that. So we have to keep hope alive, keep this program going at whatever level we can. The need is great. We're never going to address the shortage of doctors in Riverside County without this. This is our only hope, and it's just a fantastic opportunity. We just can't just let this go aside because of the economic conditions that exist now. So appreciate what you're doing, Dr. Olds. Let's keep it up.
Thank you, doctors. Before you go, I just have a quick question. We did have another speaker following you. In addition to the high-tech jobs, the doctors, the physicians, the nurses, technicians, when we do additional construction there, you have a beautiful building that you're operating out of now, what will be the additional construction jobs that will be created over years?
As you look at Riverside County specifically, we have a need, in my opinion, for considerably more healthcare infrastructure, as you know. Most of the press goes to the fact that we have a bed shortage in in Southern California. That's true, by the way. But I'll also point out that probably the greatest need is actually access to healthcare. Access to healthcare needs to be to build more ambulatory facilities. We have only about half the federally qualified healthcare centers that we need in this county. We need to build more of them, and we need to build them in the right locations. Whether we build them or we help others build them, those need to be built as part of our infrastructure. Now, I can't give you an exact estimate of what the total infrastructure support that's necessary to deliver healthcare, get access to healthcare for people in Riverside, but you're certainly talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure costs. That is in addition to whatever might be the case in the case of building new hospitals in our region. But I would argue our greatest shortage is a lack of outpatient facilities for patients to receive primary health care in our community. And that cost alone will be certainly in the hundreds of millions of dollars to build such a facility.
All right, thank you and congratulations. This is an exciting day. For not only us, but for you at UCR, we thank you for your leadership and Chancellor White as well. Thank you very much. Nick,